Hello, all. Welcome to actual play and Bloodletters. Would open this up all smooth and cool, except I'm not sure if you're getting any audio.
It's an important component.
We have audio.
Hooray!
I think
Yay!
so. At least Hawk says so. All
No,
right, cool.
I'm hearing us. It's
Oh, okay.
creating horrible reverb in my brain, but it's working.
Proof positive.
I'm sorry your waiting music didn't work. I'm sure it was amazing. Even if it wasn't the girl from Ipanema.
Yeah,
Nice.
we had great waiting music. I promise you,
Yeah.
it was all fantastic. Thank you, Zergo96. I'm glad we sound good. Well, I'm gonna intro anyway. Now was when we came on and we're like, oh, cool, and just like talking and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
like after we jammed with it for a little while,
After we were cool. We were really cool.
yeah,
Super cool.
for playing a special episode. Thank you all for coming here for this very special episode of Young R.C. Keel. 10 years ago, when she first become first mate on the Nightbreaker, and Josh is going to GM for us. Josh, you want to tell us about this? Tell us about this game.
So for all of you here, we're doing a special one-shot, and in accordance with special one-shot rules, particularly for playsets that we don't have, we're doing a little bit kooky system. So I'm going to cover that in like 30 seconds here. For those of you that are familiar with Blades, you know that there is the standard controlled, desperate, risky positions. But we're going to be assembling die pools a little bit weird. We're going to have one die base, and then folks are going to have like essentially like backgrounds that they're going to be using to generate stuff. So if you're a sailor and you're doing sailory things, you add a sailor die pool. If you've played Blades, this is also very similar to the gangs mechanic, because if you have a crew of assassins or Oscar's weirdos or adepts, and then they do adept things, they add their die pool in, and if not, not. And then of course we'll leave a variance ±1 for appropriateness of situation or inappropriateness, as the case may be. So that's going to be the entirety of our system. But this is a special one shot, and I had like a week or two to prepare, so I've been reading a lot about whaling, and hopefully I'll try and bring some nautical stuff to our crew of Leviathan hunters here. So.
Yeah.
Are you saying a week like that was no time at all, or a ton of time? Because that sounds like a ton of time to prepare for, in my mind.
Well, a ton of
Like
time.
so much preparing.
If you weren't only doing that, but Josh
Yes.
is like doing a million other things too.
I'm running 4 games, playing in 3 games, writing a game, laying out a game, laying out a second game, and in addition to that, I have an 8 hours a day, 9 to 5 job. So those are very little time for me.
You should do something to relax, like play a game.
Yeah,
That's
legit.
generally how it works.
Yeah. Hawk Oddly, yes, it's going to be similar to the way John ran the Christmas special, but we're going to have a little bit more structure in that we're, rather than determining things sort of in the moment, we're going to make some traits in advance. Mostly make traits in advance.
We do not have stress, and we do not have trauma to track and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, we just have fortune rolls on our side. We pray that
we are
they.
both more and less vulnerable than a normal Blades PC, depending on how you look at it.
Yep.
So that being said, do you find folks want to tell us a little bit about your characters?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
John, go first.
Okay, I'll go. I am playing Cole Harrington, who is the newly appointed quartermaster of the Nightbreaker. He was an underworld type. He grew up in the Imperial City, and then left ahead of the Bluecoats and went up north to evade some warrants for his arrest. Had gotten into smuggling and that kind of stuff, and was able to get involved with Lord Strangford, who is the captain of the Nightbreaker, who is also a bit of an unsavory type. And through that underworld connection, weaseled his way into a position aboard the ship, and has come up through the ranks with RC Keel. Both of us have the trait Enforcer because I think RC's better at it than I am, but I think we both started out on the ship perhaps as Enforcer types that were keeping the crew in line and knocking skulls when we had to do that. And now, and also I gave him a hunter trait as well because I think he dabbled a little bit in dealing with the hunting of the Leviathans, which I'm sure Strauss will tell us all about the creepy nonsense that surrounds that. Harrington was unable to completely stay away from that, so he's got a little hunter in him as well. But yeah, I think this is uncharted territory for him. No pun intended. Being given a leadership position, I don't think he doesn't really know what he's doing or what the quartermaster is supposed to do. He's brand new, so gonna try to figure it out on the job. Yeah, and that's Harrington. I think he's roughly the same age as RC. How old is RC around this time, Sean?
Around this time, she's I think this is she's like 25. She's been serving on the Nightbreaker for a while now because she's just made it to first. She's like worked her way up the ladder.
Yeah. All right. So I think maybe I'm a little bit more recent on board. I haven't worked as hard. I think I've gotten ahead a little bit from knowing the captain. But roughly the same age. He's Akarosi. He's deathly pale and very tall, kind of Ebenezer. What's the name I'm thinking of? From the Headless Horseman, Crane. Ebenezer Crane, like crow-like, hunched, really tall, long-limbed fellow with emo black hair that he flips out of his face occasionally. Hawkish nose. That's Harrington. Up to no good usually.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Ichabod.
Ichabod Crane. Thank you. Not
That's
Ebenezer.
right.
Ichabod.
Ebenezer Scrooge. Ichabod Crane.
Yeah. Ebenezer. I can't think of an Ebenezer that isn't Scrooge, but yes. Yes, Hawk Oddly. He was our first supplier.
Mm-hmm.
And he vanished under mysterious circumstances, if I recall.
I mean, we don't know where he is now, but that's way in the future.
That's way in the future. That's like 15 years in the future.
Now things are great.
Cool. Karen, do you want to go next?
Sure. So Daphnia Dalmore, who goes by D, featured in, I believe, just the one episode that you guys had some time back, and I've read that tiny paragraph about her extensively in Sean's AP report. At this point in time, she's just another crew member. I think we said she's the bosun. We know that she later on takes RC's position as first mate, and then RC says, "I'll do you one more and make you captain." So I haven't filled in all her traits yet, but she's got sailing background and a little bit of backstabbing. It seems like she's not above doing whatever it takes to get to the top. And I think she's definitely got her eye on first mate.
Yeah, well, we know
Because
where
we
that
know
gets her.
she gets it later, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it gets her exactly what she wants.
Yes.
RC Keel, RC Keel is a stark contrast to Cole Harrington. She is, she's a very sturdy built black woman, but she's not the RC that we've seen in Bloodletters, who has long dreads that are pulled in tangleback. RC has had her head shaved and a sort of military cut, and is only now just barely growing out from that. So she's got a buzz that has, however, Harrington got away with wearing his hair all floppy, RC coming up through the ranks and working through the ranks. That was not the way the Nightbreaker ran. Though it is not a military ship, there are a lot of trappings of military ships on it, including punishment for crew that are disobedient and a certain decorum that you're supposed to be held by. RC's hair is not quite as short as it has been because she's just recently been promoted to first mate, where she has certain allowances. However, because it's happened so recently, she hasn't really come to comfort with that. She's not really a good first mate yet. We'll see if maybe in the years to come, hopefully she becomes a better one. But at the moment, she's doing her best. RC is overwhelmed by Strangford's presence. She is in awe of the man and thinks of him as perhaps a father figure. She's incredibly loyal to him. And part of the reason why is that he had early on gave her an opportunity, gave her a chance, like picked her out and was like, let's see how quickly you can climb up that mast or do this like task or take care of this thing. And unlike like everyone else in her life, because she came from a menial labor background, she never thought she had a chance. He has recognized her, and that has even though it doesn't cost him anything necessarily, she's seen that as a huge trust that he's put in her, and so she is fiendishly loyal to him, and thinks he can do no wrong. That is young R.C. Keel.
All right. So that's our cast of characters for tonight. Just a quick question for the three of you. Do you folks have any questions for me, or shall we just dive in and have adventures upon the void sea?
Let's do it. Let's get down to business.
We should do that. I'm still trying to fight with Roll20 on my traits, so it looks like I've cheated right now, but I promise. Well, maybe I don't promise. I'm not cheating. Okay, there we go. Yes, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So let's like most stories that are nautical in nature. This one actually, unlike pirate stories, this one is actually a sea story, so it's going to start on the sea. And you folks, so let me set the scene a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about where we're at and what's going on. So you folks are crewing the ship called the Nightbreaker. The Nightbreaker itself is what's considered a factory ship. It and of itself is very large. I mean, it is the equivalent of like 3 or 4 city blocks in length, and it can carry up to like I think 75 people as crew. The reason it's considered a factory ship is because a lot of times during the hunts, it runs with a pack of smaller ships that sight for it and also do a lot of like trawling and looking for things in the deeps. They try to sight out Leviathans, and basically once you guys go on a hunt, you bring back supplies and you can actually process them partially on the ship while the smaller ships go out looking for more prey. So this ship has large, well-scrubbed decks that are used for chopping up Leviathan bits, and it's actually got processing plants where like barrels of the raw blood can be used to actually process fuel that powers the ship itself. It is a monstrous thing that is made of metal. That's like a metal ship, so like a battleship is not a bad kind of visual to have in your mind. But right now it is sitting on a becalmed sea, right? So like the waters are almost mirror still, like unnaturally so. Usually boats will be like floating up and down. They'll be creating little waves. There'll be all sorts of ripples. But the void sea today looks still as glass, right? And in the depths, we see the twinkling of stars, and above you, there's a similar sky. So there's virtually no horizon line. It's all kind of darkness around it, where this factory ship has these bright electric lights that are on it. And it has the hustle and the bustle of crew. But as we kind of like look around the ship a little bit, while the crew is keeping themselves busy and having things to do, there doesn't seem to be necessarily a whole ton of, there doesn't seem to be like a whole lot of product. It seems like a lot of the crew is doing maintenance, reweaving nets, redoing like ropes and things like that, and basically keeping the ship in good condition because they don't seem to actually have a whole ton of Leviathan bits. So
no bits.
Yeah, no bits. So if the first scene that I just kind of want to frame a little bit, and then I'll kind of kick you off, is so quartermaster, your job, among other things, involves two things. One of which is obviously dealing with the supplies of the ship and keeping them, accounted for, as well as like rationed out. So you monitor things like food and water and other stuff like that. And also you're responsible for monitoring the intake of Leviathan blood and such. And the thing is that everyone on boat knows that there hasn't been a Leviathan sighting in some times. You guys have charted some courses, you have followed, what you're supposed to, but you haven't actually spotted a single Leviathan in quite a bit of time. And you are way below the mark, the threshold of the Leviathan blood that you folks are supposed to harvest and bring back to Duskfall. And you have a second problem that has just cropped up, which is that one of the waters of the Void Sea are not necessarily good for human consumption, much the same way that you shouldn't be drinking, straight up
seawater.
Exactly.
Only worse.
Right. So the way that you handle it is you boil it with electroplasm, like you do, and it kills most of the non-human elements in it, like it's supposed to. And there is a complex set of machinery and engineering section that filters water to provide drinkable water, so that both the Nightbreaker itself and its little fleet of hunter ships, which come back periodically to resupply and get their rations of water and stuff like that, depend on this. And the mechanism, the filter that is supposed to be creating this water, has broken. And the engineers have reported this to you, so you know that you don't have enough Leviathan blood. The crew has been basically doing busy work for a while. And by the way, when I say crew, I want to make a couple things clear. There's a bunch of different types of crew. So you folks are standard crew, but much as was the case during British times, there's actually a number of people who are mustered, which means that there are people who have been impressed into service whether they want to or not. Usually it's a way for criminals to work off their debts, because Leviathan hunting is incredibly dangerous and a lot of them don't make it back. So their choices are things like reduced sentences or service on a boat, or spending time in like Iron Hook, or potentially taking a heftier penalty. So there's a bunch of people that aren't necessarily like super happy here, which means that the roiling kind of undercurrent of the crew, as it were, is not necessarily super happy and super like on point. Morale is low, and this is only going to make it worse. So take it away, folks.
Well, I mean, I heard that engineering has a big problem and has screwed up big time, and the hunters have a big problem and have screwed up big time. That's what I heard. And
sounds like it.
As the new ship's quartermaster, who, let me assure you, does not have quadruple rations of whiskey in his personal quarters, because that would be wrong. I feel like I've discovered the failing of two important sectors of the ship.
And so what you're telling me is that you want me to go reveal this to the captain, because you don't want to tell him. Like RC is suddenly in this scene now, hearing Harrington say this.
There's two people I need to talk to. I need to talk to the bosun, because I feel like maybe Dalmor isn't whipping the lash as hard as maybe she could be.
Oh, really?
Problems. And I need to talk to RC, because someone needs to take my discovery up with the captain. And I think it should be me, but RC is my friend and all, and I know she's new on the job, so it would be polite to discuss it with her first before I go tell the captain about the problem. So maybe the scene is I've grabbed RC, and the two of us are approaching Daphnia out on deck, because you probably are like actually working, I would assume, Daphne. You have, like,
yeah.
So maybe
she's busy making sure the people are doing their jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Unlike
Nice.
just sit around all day. So
Yes.
yeah, I think we put our slickers on and pull our caps down, and I have RC by the arm, and I haven't explained anything to you, RC.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Come with me. And we go out into the lashing wind and rain. Maybe is it raining? I don't know if it's raining. But.
Well, the sea is perfectly still, but I feel like, particularly on the Void Sea, there is a howling wind. Yes.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Although it's not stirring waves, but that's not really unusual for this sector. So.
Yeah, so I think there's that like thing of, head down, slicker hunched, and RC going along with Harrington because why wouldn't she? Harrington, goals are friends, so
yeah,
he's dragging her. So yeah, of course.
Dee's in the process of telling somebody, you call that a knot? That's not a knot. Your rigging is horrible, and giving somebody a hard time.
Nice.
I can imagine disgruntled sailors.
Yeah, finally pushes the guy out of the way. Is like, let me do this, and is working on some type of hitch.
Yeah. So over the wind, RC makes the tries to pierce through the howling wind so that Dee can hear them approaching, and she's yelling Dee, just to get her attention because the wind is carrying through.
Yeah,
I think she'll, not stopping what she's doing, just go, what?
I think I stop at maybe there's like a midships kind of cabin, and I stop short there. Maybe if RC continues, and open the door and tell whoever's in there to take a hike. I don't expect us to have the conversation out on deck like this, yelling at each other. I'm like going inside where there's a lantern and it's warmer.
Yeah.
So I open the door and then kind of like wave at the two of you, like to come over and talk. Even if you're in the middle of something,
Dee throws what she was working on back at the other guy and is like, "You fix it. I showed you how."
It's like half done.
Yeah.
Love it.
Guys, like, what the? Oh.
You got him started.
Yeah.
RC walks confidently in front of Dee, never afraid that she would be in any danger.
No. Why would you be?
No. It's fine.
It's calm, right? Nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Harrington.
So,
What's going on? We shouldn't all be here. We've got to be making sure the ship is, we got to make sure the captain's ship is taken care of. What's going on?
Cool. I tow the door shut and then I take out a flask and I like take a swig and then kind of gesture with it to you guys.
All right, but let's not linger.
Yeah. Oh, right. So, I've made a discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And RC kind of gets hopeful, like,
yeah, right.
Because we all know, at least the Leviathan blood, like that's not really, that's common knowledge. Maybe not to the captain who's cloistered away in his cabin, but like to everybody on deck, that's common. So she like looks like, like.
I think it's something the captain's really going to want to know about.
I think after the third time that Harrington kind of has a long pause, Dee will finally like grab the flask.
Oh, nice.
Like, oh my god.
And RC's totally falling for the bait. Like she thinks, you
Right.
think you know what a Leviathan is, right? She's completely going along.
Has to do with the Leviathan blood.
Yeah.
He says.
And
apparently we don't have enough of it.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I think it's the hunters. They're slacking off. Not only that, but we don't have enough drinkable water for everyone. He says the hunter ships don't have enough drinkable water. Not we. Not we. He doesn't say we.
Not we. They don't have enough drinkable water.
They are going to run out of drinkable water soon.
Why are they going to run out of water? We have plenty of reserves, no?
Oh,
no.
The machine's broken.
She looks at you like this is your job.
Yeah. He says, I don't know, the machine's broken or something. So, like the thing that makes our drinkable water is broken, but he just lied. So, Dee, if you could name me, actually, if you could grab me, RC, grab the two people that Dee thinks are most responsible for these problems, and we'll take him to the captain and get this sorted out.
The problem of not having water or blood.
Yeah, I figure like one of the hunters and one of the engineers. That'll probably do it. Whoever seems most likely.
No. No. We tell the captain.
What, you think we should
And
do each? All right, let's get 2 of each, just in case. Maybe one of them.
no, we're not
You want us-
scapegoating.
You want us to just grab some people, the people that we work with, the people that I see every day.
Yeah.
I work very hard to have
Well, you must know
a
who's
relationship with, so I can,
It's not your fault, is it?
It's our fault. Well, I mean, there's a chain of responsibility. It's the chief of the engineer's fault that it's up.
Well, there you have it then. We'll get the chief of engineers.
well, let's just keep going up. Why don't we just say it's all RC's fault? RC, is it all your fault? Maybe it's the captain's fault. It's probably the captain's fault. Let's just go all the way up and tell the captain that it's his fault.
It's my responsibility to keep the captain appraised of what's going on in the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's
Not my responsibility for ratting out somebody who may or may not have caused this problem.
Well, it's one of the engineers, or maybe it's all of them. I don't know. I, for one, am not going to let this go unpunished, and I don't see why you would want that either, RC. This is your thing.
No, you're right. I mean, if somebody's slacking off, we will whip them into shape. But
Listen, if there's nothing in the water, when there's no fish in the water, it's not the fisherman's fault. But if we don't have drinking water, that is a problem, and that should probably be looked at the person who rations those things out. The master of those
quarters
will ration out whatever we have available to us. I'm talking. It's the availability that's the problem.
So can I see? I mean, can I see your ledgers on how things have been distributed so far? Maybe we can see if there's.
Oh, I've got the logbook.
Like taking more rations than they should have, or.
No, I don't think that had anything to do with it. They said the machine broke, so I think that's the main problem.
What?
And the hunters apparently can't find anything.
How much water do we have?
Grabs the flask, keeps drinking.
Yeah. How long do we have before the hunters start dying of thirst?
I don't know. Strash, how dire is it?
So the thing is that at the moment, it's not dire, but what they reported to you, and the thing is that the first day they were like, oh, there's a little glitch. We'll probably have it fixed by tomorrow. And at this point, they just left you a note. And basically what the note says is, we have no idea when this is going to be fixed. We may have to cut our run short. Who the hell knows?
I dig out I have one of my little books that I keep notes and stuff. I don't have a system for the ship stores, by the way. It's a fucking but I take out one of my notebooks and flip through it, and I go, look, they just left me a note. What is that? We can't have this. This is unacceptable. Something has to be done, RC. I mean, something's wrong with the crew. That's just my humble opinion. I mean, I'm only the quartermaster, but that's what it looks like.
The captain needs to decide if we're going to. The captain needs to decide with our support and advice and everything we can do to support him, if we should turn back now or stay out looking. And she kind of like winces when she says, turn back. Like, that's clearly not her intent. It's clearly not her desire, but it's.
Look, I know something about
just so that I interject briefly, keep in mind that you guys are like out on the sea, right? So like you may have like a couple of weeks of limping back, knowing that you're coming back with no supplies. And,
but still, like if we're all going to
totally acceptable.
die of dehydration.
I'm reinforcing the fact that this is an undesirable kind of thing, and it's definitely weighing on your mind. But yeah.
No, I mean, it's clearly not what.
Look, I know, strength captain. I know the captain. I don't want to go give him any kind of bad news with it's just the 3 of us, because I like you guys. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. We need at least a couple other bodies in the room to take the heat, or one of us is going down for this. And I don't think we had anything to do with it, right? So look, that's just my advice. He's not overly reasonable, the captain.
I don't know what you mean, Cole.
Are you being sarcastic? I can't tell.
No, she's not.
RC believes that. Okay. Yeah, when
I
you say
mean-
that, I take the flashback from D and I drink the rest of it.
And RC
You're
like
you better log that.
RC like fingers something like under her jerk, like she got like her slicker that's covering her mostly, and she like fondles something that's invisible because it's underneath the slicker. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna go tell him, I'm gonna go report, and then I'm gonna tell him that we're gonna get to the bottom of this. So D, why don't you? And she's not really comfortable with her command yet. Like she was totally comfortable beating heads of getting like she dragged many sailors. She's done D's job many times and was fine with it, but
Yeah.
she's not quite comfortable telling D what to do yet. She's
Well,
like,
because Dee's pretty good, I think, at her job. She's got a good relationship with most people, and so she's actually pretty well liked and
Nice.
has a really good rapport with people.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Dee,
she's
why don't-
trying to be polite about this.
why don't you, as first mate,
hmm Would you like
go with
me
Cole to
go with
find out
Cole?
what's it going to take to fix that damn engine, the
Okay.
electric
Yeah.
plasma filters. So we're on
Mhm.
it. We're already taking action, and I'm going to go tell the captain.
Sounds good. It's a good plan.
Harrington starts to say something and then just puts his hand on RC's shoulder as he's walking to the door and like pulls the cap down, pulls the collar up, and looks at her and he's like, "It's been good knowing you." Slaps you on the arm again. He's sort of joking. He's kind of joking.
Yeah. I think she takes it seriously. I think
And
she
then
takes
he
it.
walks out into the wind and he yells from a few feet away. He's like, "Come on, D!"
I think we see them kind of
Yeah.
part.
I think Dee on the way out kind of gives RC a look and is just like, as first mate, you have some influence on hiring positions. Just saying.
She does not see how that is germane to the conversation.
You're doing great. Good job.
You definitely think to yourself that someday you two might be able to be first mate.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have been first mate. I know that much.
Good to know.
I think
Yeah,
I think
Awesome.
we've already learned that in that one scene. You should be quartermaster and first mate.
a little bit.
Yeah. How we got those jobs, who knows?
Yeah, it's
All right. So I believe the next scene, obviously, here is the two of you heading into engineering, right?
hmm
yeah, I mean, I'm there, I guess.
Do you try and slip away? There is a role for that, and you have to
Oh,
have a
hell
skill for
no.
it too.
No, I don't. I'm gonna try to do my job, but
Mhm.
mostly I'm gonna let Dee do it. So
Mostly I'll let you do my job.
Thanks.
I go along, but I try real hard to like lag back so she goes in first. And if she's taking any kind of initiative, Cole's just like fine with that.
Yeah.
But no, I don't slip away.
So, as you folks are headed into engineering, there's a little bit of a scenery shift. So we see you like outside with the slickers and the howling winds and the perfectly still sea with stars in it. And as you start going down, it starts getting a little claustrophobic because this is not a ship that's built for comfort. This ship is a machine, right? Like the stairs are at a little bit too sharp of an angle. The corridors are a little too small. You have to kind of hunch over and get used to kind of like walking a little bit sideways past all the piping and stuff. And you can see like you can definitely see like doors that are, what are they called? They're not blast doors, but they're doors for basically keeping water in different compartments and cutting out sections of ships.
That kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, you folks are walking past like pipes, and you see some of the pipes are like a little bit like larger. You see some pipes that are actually like copper and brass, and periodically you'll hear like a hear or like something like echoing past it. And as you are walking towards engineering, the temperature rises rapidly, and after a while, you're seeing condensation on the walls, not because it's like the pipes are cool, but like because there's just so much steam and water coming out of engineering, it's almost like walking into a jungle.
Nice.
So by the time you enter, you realize that engineering itself is 2 decks worth of rooms. So all of a sudden the ceilings like pop open, and you can see sort of like the length of it, and you see the kind of like the weird electrical discharges that are firing at like what the engine is, like the beating heart of the ship, so to speak. And this is also one of the older sections of the ship, and it's closer to it's further below decks. So you actually see that in some sections, instead of just having like the raw metal of the outside, sort of like fully battleship, you actually see some like wood paneling and plating that is sort of like the core body of the original Leviathan Hunter, in like the middle of it. And you hear people yelling. As a matter of fact, of course, it waited until the moment that you're there, but somebody is like working on some part, and there's like a discharge, and you see somebody like falling to the ground, and people rushing over and like trying to like make sure that they're okay and resuscitating them and whatnot. But it seems to be a hive of frenetic activity where, unlike the outside, most of the people are like either shirtless or like they have their like sleeves and pant legs totally rolled up as much as they can to like relieve as much of the heat as they can. And so you see a lot more people with like goggles and like some gloves that help them not get shocked. But yeah, that's sort of like the scenery that you're looking at.
When Dee glances back, I have my overcoat off, my uniform coat off, my shirt is unbuttoned, my sleeves are rolled up. I've like tied my officer's tie around my head like a bandana, and I'm like, whew, man. I don't know how they work down here. This is crazy.
Well, they have to stay hydrated.
Interestingly enough, there are indeed actually like glass. They're like glass pipes with like meters on them that show like different levels, and you can see that the water levels in at least like 2 of the compartments are below, like they're in the yellow region of like there's like the color of the little like bands that they have that delineate like if it goes below this. So it's color coded for some of the people that maybe aren't literate, which is not 100% uncommon amongst everyone here, amongst sailors. But the
people
person
who don't have time to read, who just need to look at a color across the room.
But the person that you folks are looking for, the head engineer, is a woman by the name of Matisa Arik. She's a Severan, and she's standing in the middle of this chaos, fully uniformed, with her uniform buttoned up to the last button on the neck, and she's got the standard like military garb with the like heavy metal plate on one shoulder, and like and mind you, sweat is pouring down her face, but she's not letting it affect her demeanor. She's kind of like the core beating heart of this engineering section. So what do you folks do?
I think Deal kind of shout out a greeting to get her attention a bit, and come over and kind of just get right to it and say, water levels are looking a little low.
Understatement.
She points a significant glance at Harrington, and then back to Dee, and says, "Since when is that the bosun's problem?"
It's not. It's just making sure everything's okay.
Yeah, it's your problem, Eric. You're the one that's got to deal with this, right, Dee? Water levels. We gotta get that thing working again, like quick, fast. Captain's not gonna be happy. I would hate for him to even have to hear about it, honestly. I mean, that would be the best possible outcome, right? Everybody agree? Just get it fixed quietly. No one needs to know. We're good, right? Yes?
She looks at the water levels, and then she looks over, and in the corner, there's essentially it's covered, but there's like a body, and there's like they threw up a little tarp over it, and they're waiting for a couple of days to like dispose of it, right? And she goes, she goes, unfortunately, I don't know that we're going to be able to do this quietly. I lost a man today already.
Who?
Got shocked. It's Brooks over there.
Not Brooks. Ah.
Uh,
Yeah.
she looks almost angry, but and you know that she's like very hard on herself.
Yeah.
So what she says is, we're trying, but it's fighting us. We've had to run double the power through the other water purification system to just try and compensate as much as we can. But unfortunately, that's hitting our fuel reserves even harder. So
Mhm.
I
Well, what
wish
do you
I
need?
a miracle.
More tangible? What do you need?
She goes off into like some engineering terms about how some thing capacitor sprung a leak and now something is salt encrusted and that means it's corroded and
Mhm.
doesn't have the part because the whole thing is a unit and supposed to be waterproof and blah blah blah. She talks for like she starts talking. She's not going to stop for like 10 minutes unless somebody stops her.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I think Dee is listening and is trying to ask like clarifying questions and is saying, can we pull a part off of something else? Like, what do we have that we can that we don't need? How can we rebuild this? What don't we have some scraps somewhere? Like, didn't some other machine break down? What can we harvest off of it? And she's trying to hopefully like lead her to some type of conclusion, even though like Dee herself doesn't know how to fix this. She's not an engineer.
So what Matissa will tell you is, actually, when you ask her about like, oh well, can we get that from this or this, and what she tells you is the problem is the power coupling. And yeah, we can pull one. We have some that are actually rated for the same variance. The problem is that they're in complicated sectors. We're going to have to take either the engine or like our essentially like the stuff that runs the lights on the forward section of the ship. She's going to like have to depower either the engine, which is going to depower like a lot of the ship itself, or like the forward section. And she's avoiding doing either because both will leave the ship in a vulnerable state.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds like perhaps a first mate decision.
RC is walking through the thing, straightening her
captain decision.
Her tie.
And she goes, "Does sound like a first mate problem to me, huh?"
Mm-hmm.
She looks pointedly at Harrington.
Yeah, and I look pointedly at D because I'm like, "See, you see what happens? Do you see what happens? I tried to help you guys, and now it's you're getting RC in trouble." I don't say that. I just look at her like. But I'm saying that by I've got the blanket pulled back. I'm looking at the body.
The dude looks like he was burnt. I mean, it's electrical burn. You see like some of the like really cool like lightning dancing on the surface of the skin kind of like effect.
That is cool. Can I tell? I'll make a roll if I need to. I'm an underworld type. I'm curious. I'm looking at him to see if there was foul play. If this was an accident, if I could claim it was foul play and it would be believable, or I could claim it's an accident and that's plausible.
Awesome.
Anything like that.
Have you? So let me ask you this. I believe that your die plus underworld is very appropriate, but how much have you worked with engineering stuff before? It's totally an open question.
Not much. I think my only contact has been during my enforcer time on the ship.
Let me ask a different question. Have you ever sabotaged anything electrical?
Oh yeah, I've sabotaged stuff. Yeah.
In which case, you should roll plus underworld, and I will give you a bonus die because this may actually be very applicable.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I don't know how this stuff works per se, but I know like to break certain things to make them stop functioning. Yeah, I think that's it. Cool. So I'm gonna roll. I have 1 plus 2 for underworld plus 1 for the bonus die, so I have 4 dice. I got a 6.
Sweet.
Nice.
So the body maybe doesn't tell you as much of a story. The body looks like somebody who maybe did get zapped or electrocuted really well. And you say you're like, or like looking around, there's no like sudden aha moment, but like if you go and look at the stuff that they're actually working on, they have a section of the wall is opened up, which means they've actually unbolted some of the metal plating, and you can see that some people are like going in and coming out, and they seem to do it like more rapidly than even people in here do, because it's even hotter in there and there's like metal plating and other stuff like that. But if you kind of like cast your eye about in there, there's definitely stuff that so let me put it a different way. Yeah, it looks like an engineer is looking for parts and components, and the parts and the components did degrade. But somebody like you who is looking for sabotage is actually not bothering looking at the parts and components. They're looking at like the casing. Did somebody like drill a hole and stuff like that? And you definitely, I'm not 100% sure what it is. Maybe maybe you can help me with this, but it definitely looks like somebody may have either filed certain edges off or taken certain like screws out to create artificial leaks and things like that. And it definitely looks like there may have been some foul play involved. Yes.
I think, what if there's like a U-bend pipe or something on this machinery, and I go over to it and I kind of scrape it a little bit, and it's been painted, but it's not metal. Like someone took the thing that's supposed to carry the pressure or whatever, took it off and replaced it with something that couldn't handle it, and then painted it to make it look
nice. Well, we know that there's like some like copper pipes and some like steel pipes or something like that. So maybe the copper high, they're like the really high conductive pipes are the ones that's supposed to be used for this, and it's just a steel pipe, but it's been painted with like a copper finish.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great.
That's awful.
That's some serious, like, real deal there.
So now I have to decide really what Harrington's like, because my first thought was for him to go, "Hey, look," but I think he's a little more clever than that. And he sees it, but he makes a face at D. He's kind of like he's behind the engineer, and he's kind of like.
we were worried, folks, that that the audio wasn't going to work on the stream, and so before
we're emoting.
And so we were thinking we might have to do this as a silent video. So we're still playing. Still playing off that.
Yeah, we need to have title cards with our actions on them.
The little delicate borders.
Yeah, I think he tries to communicate to you like, okay, let's wrap this up. Like, something's going on. We need to like get out of here.
Okay. All right. So D's been kind of, I think while that's going on, just shooting the shit a little bit and saying, "Oh man, Brooks, God, he's got a wife back home. Yeah, it was his birthday last month, wasn't it?" And like, just
so like
mourning,
hilariously,
casually.
Like the engineering head still has that like severe look, and she's giving like a "why are you wasting my time" as like sweat is pouring down her face, right?
Yeah.
But meanwhile, like there's a couple of people in engineering, like there's like one guy who has like a mask on because he's like trying to like weld or like test something, and he turns around and like he's like, you know, you hear him like under the mask basically being like, "Yeah, Brooks, you have a wife." And somebody else is like, "This birthday party was great. We had like extra ration of grog that day." Yeah, you know. And of course, the head of engineering just turns around and like she's got like these like blazing blue eyes and is giving them the like, "If you have time to yap, you have time to work" kind of look. And they're just like, "Oh," and they suddenly find reasons to be busy again.
Nice. Well, we'll get to the bottom of this. We'll figure out what to depower and how to survive that.
Do I need to talk to the captain? She says, looking pointedly at you two.
A first mate's on it.
Then it is a first mate problem. And she so yeah. She seems to consider the matter concluded. She's looking expectantly at the two of you like, if
it's all broken, but it's resolved now. I've reported it up.
We said we'd fix it. All right. Yeah, D's ready to go.
Awesome. Cool. So I think we'll cut the scene there, and we'll see what RC's doing here.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can cut on. It's a first mate's problem, and we'll cut to RC.
Yep.
Sweet.
And so RC, are you going to go and talk to Harrington?
I'm going to go talk to Strangford. Yeah.
Yeah, my bad.
No, that's okay. We got that mixed up a bunch in the beginning of the game.
Yeah. So
At least there's no Strathmills. All right. Yeah. So RC does sort of do her best to compose herself, straighten her shirt, just look as composed as she can. She also has a logbook. It's not the inventory journal like the quartermaster's log, but it's a logbook of navigational, like where we've been, and it does record just specifically the hunting totals. Like it doesn't have any of the other supplies, but it just records barrels of blood that we've got. And RC has been pretty meticulous in keeping it as current as possible, which she has to get from like collect the information and then present it. So it's leather bound and all wrapped and worn from years. And she has it under her arm and like wraps her knuckles on the metal door of the captain's quarters and just walks in, because that's like standard protocol, which is like you announce, but there's a lot of pleasantries, I think. Sure. So, rap, and then lets herself in, and like, again, this isn't a military vessel, but the way she understands her relationship with Strangford is that there's a very strong sort of protocol, and so she sort of stands there like at attention, waiting for him to like call on her to get to report. But she's obviously there, like ready to report to him.
So just for me to paint the scene again, we've seen this room in Bloodletters before, but I'm going to mention it here on air.
Yeah.
It is definitely a ship's room, but it is the captain's quarters, which means that it's slightly fancier. So the phonograph that we stole with the wax cylinders, actually they don't have. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's the phonograph that plays the wax cylinders is there, although it's off. And we see actually like the carpeting, and we see the nice strips. We see at this time there's like the tub is there, but it's not like prominently placed in the middle. It's like it's in its own compartment and such. And you actually see Strangford, 15 fewer years on him. He is actually at this point in time, I'm going to say that he is capable of walking, although he is using a cane. And the safe in the room is open, and you see splayed out. There's this really complex, like partially mystical astrolabe that hangs above a table, and he has a bunch of nautical charts. And he's transferred most of his weight to his front, and he's holding like essentially like a what are they? Not a protractor, but like a compass. And he's calculating. He's like spinning it around like end to end, trying to figure out something
navigational. Yeah.
Yep. And he lets you stand still for just probably a minute too long.
Yeah.
And then says, "RC, if you had to go east or west, how do you decide?"
I look at the astrolabe meaningfully, and I think RC has learned. RC does know a bit about navigation, and she would say, "I would look for a nixus, and which is a prominent star formation in the Void Sea." She doesn't say that. That just she would say, "I would look for a nixus." And see if it was waxing or waning, and follow the stars.
Do you trust the stars, RC?
They have not failed us yet, she says with a little bit of reticence, because she's about to give like, "Oh, by the way we've been doing it hasn't working" information, but she isn't ready to be like, "The way we've been doing things for 100 or hundreds of years is all bullshit." So she says they have not failed us yet.
He takes a deep sigh, as if your answer is satisfactory, but not necessarily what he was asking, and he drops the compass and with a gesture that's got a little bit of disgust in it, an emotion that he wouldn't necessarily be showing, except for the fact that he's kind of, at least a little bit fond of you, right? And he picks up his cane and pulls himself up to his height,
and she's still like not making eye contact with him. She's still like reporting right now.
And then he says, "What is it?"
I have two matters to report. One, and she kind of opens up the logbook and puts it out on the desk, and she's like, "We are 40 barrels shy of our quota. Over the last year, it looks like we're 3% down for the year. Only half of our current where we should be on our current run based on supplies. Bosun Dalmore has been keeping the men in check, the crew in check. Or there are men and women have been keeping the crew in check.
I like the idea that you're correcting yourself as you're talking.
Yeah, I think she is.
Exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I could, and she gets really like, this is a moment of confidence. She's like, I could instill more fear in them. We could institute lashings for anyone who is in a dereliction of duty, and perhaps even offer an additional day of shore leave for the top, say 3 hunters. We could offer incentives, and she pauses for seconds, but we need to find prey. And looks again at the astrolabe.
Harrington points at the maps and says, traditionally, by this point, we'd be turning back. But now I have to guess, because most of the patterns and most of the sightings that we're expecting are not where they're supposed to be. So the question that I have is, do we strike out east or do we strike out west, looking for exactly what we need? They can't be gone. They're just hiding somewhere.
They fear us, she says, hopefully.
He smiles, but doesn't really, like, it's obvious that he doesn't believe
He doesn't believe it, yeah. Well, I don't think she does either. She just seems like the right thing to say. There's an additional complication, which is that engineering has had a failure in the water purification systems. But the quartermaster and the bosun are addressing it at the moment, and I'm sure they'll get it resolved quickly.
He
Actually, no. It's perfect. I say, I correct myself. I'm sure the bosun will get it resolved quickly. It's her job. Yeah.
I love how, like, in the back of your mind, you see Harrington being like, and then you're like, I'm sure the bosun will get it resolved quickly.
Yeah. She does correct herself. Oh, this is great. RC with no confidence, or RC building your confidence.
Strangford looks at you and he says, discipline on a boat is everything, but don't push them harder than you need to unless they get out of line. Then make an example.
And for what, like, no reason at all, she looks down and there's a shot glass of, like, next to on his table. You know, there's like, it's empty. It's probably dusty because he doesn't, like, drink there. It's like a ceremonial thing. She kind of looks down at it, looks back up at him.
And then he shakes his head and he says, the Wave Runner is overdue. That's one of your little sister ships that's supposed to go out and scout out where stuff is. And he says, overdue enough that they should be out of supplies at this point. It's not a good sign.
Well, if we know the trajectory, can we change course to intercept?
Yeah. We probably want to run the engines a little bit. It went out with the Star Hunter, but the Star Hunter resupplied before it left, and it was supposed to catch up, and both of them were supposed to go and scout out an area. He basically sent out boats in both directions. And he says, yeah, but we're going to be leaving one of the other ships a little bit further behind. I'm going to give them another 12 hours. And if we don't hear anything, we'll change course and leave a buoy for anybody that comes by.
She nods, like, that's fine. That's good. That'll give the engineering time to restore this trifling matter, this water shortage. Dalmore will take care of it.
So he nods and he says, trifling. Good. That's good to hear. Get it
Oh,
fixed.
come on.
And she's still kind of been like not making eye contact with him. It's not like she's avoiding him, but she's just trying to like be respectful at this point. Like, and she says, "Sir, may I have permission to speak with you on a personal matter?"
Go ahead.
She
And
fondles.
you hear the unspoken. It's not like we're in the middle of anything right now.
Yeah, she fondles this this something underneath her now it's underneath her coat, so it's still not visible, but and she says, I took your advice, sir, and I sent a letter of calling. I sent my calling card to Master Keel, to Master Julian, because she would call him by his first name. And then she looks really like she's trying not to smile, but she's very happy. She says, "Sir, he said yes."
Oh.
He smiles and he says, congratulations, but you get the sense that it's kind of perfunctory. Sort of like this is less of a happy occasion for him and more of a, he expected this to work out like this, so this is a thing that he kind of foresees coming. And he says, the tie between the Leviathan hunters and the nobility is strong, and it should be kept that way. We are the lifeblood of the Empire.
Yes, and yes, sir. And I was wondering if this is not too much to ask, sir, I was wondering if you would officiate our wedding. I mean, as the captain, you have.
You're surely not going to be married on my boat, are you, Keel?
Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't think so, but surely, as a noble yourself, you. I mean, if that is too much to ask, and she kind of like looks away, like she feels embarrassed that she asked about it. But it would be a great honor to me if you would marry us.
I think he turns back to his maps and he says, Keel, we've got a water shortage and a lack of Leviathan. You should probably see to that. And pointedly doesn't answer.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. She I think actually he would be calling me RC. Hawk oddly just pointed out, yeah, RC is Keel is not RC's maiden
Oh
name.
yes, you are totally right.
Yeah.
So,
I've never thought about RC's maiden name.
What is RC's maiden name? Let's find it out.
This is a thing we should know. You know what? We should go have a break and then we'll come back.
That sounds like a plan. That
Yeah.
sounds like a great plan.
So thanks all. We'll see you back in a few. Let me get this timer started. And we'll be back.
Tell us if there's music.